into the law of non-contradiction.
Interesting.
So, the law of non-contradiction is seen as one of the fundamental laws of logic. In this video, we're going to give a brief explanation of the law and look at some examples. We're also going to see if there can be any philosophical challenges to the law itself.
Great, let's begin.
Very well. So then, quite simply, the law of non-contradiction states that contradictory statements or propositions cannot both be true, or in other words, a statement cannot be both true and false. So if we have X, X cannot be X and not X.
Right.
We cannot both affirm and deny the same proposition. If we were to do so, then we would be violating the law of non-contradiction. So if we take Felix, if I was to say Felix is a cat and not a cat, this would be violating the law of non-contradiction, as to be a cat and not a cat is contradictory. Both statements cannot be true. Likewise, if someone was to say the restaurant is more than 10 miles away and the restaurant is less than 10 miles away, again we have a contradiction. Reality cannot allow for both of these statements to be true.
Yes, I see.
The law of non-contradiction is a vital logical law for attaining knowledge and understanding reality. If we imagine a universe where the law of non-contradiction did not obtain, then how could we ever function? Nothing could ever reflect a true reality. Someone could say, I exist and I do not exist at the same time. Someone could say, I am a human and I am not a human, and somehow both these statements would have to hold up simultaneously. In such a world, knowledge would not exist, as whatever we accept as true would equally be false. All thought, reason and rationality would cease to exist. We would never be able to know anything. Biology would mean nothing, as a human would have a heart and not have a heart. Mathematics would be meaningless, as 1 plus 1 would equal 2 and not equal 2. Nothing would make sense. As such, the law of non-contradiction is a vital logical law that must persist universally all the time. It is needed for all reason and rationality. It is needed for all knowledge and to make sense and order out of reality.
Yes, indeed. I can see how there would be a breakdown in reality without such a law. However, I think it can be challenged that this law pertains universally.
Really?
Yes. If we are considering propositions or statements that people make, imagine two people at opposite parts of the country. In one town it is raining and in the other town it is not. These two people are on the phone. As such, the statement it is raining and it is not raining can both be uttered. These two contradictory statements are therefore both true. We can also apply this to other statements. Consider the black feather. Now, we can say that the feather is light because it weighs very little, but we can also say that the feather is dark because it is coloured black. As such, we can say the feather is light and dark, two contradictory statements that are both true.
Okay, well, in the first situation, we are dealing with two different places where the statements are made. And in the second situation, we are dealing with a fallacy of equivocation, where you are using the same word with different meanings. I do see your point, but I don't think this violates the law of non-contradiction. In fact, many philosophers have expanded this law further to incorporate these types of situations. I would like to focus on Aristotle's criteria. Aristotle gives 3 rules to the law of non-contradiction. Number 1. It is impossible for the same thing to belong and not to belong at the same time to the same thing in the same respect. Number 2. It is impossible to hold the same thing to be and not to be. And number 3, the most certain of all basic principles is that contradictory propositions are not true simultaneously. If we look at it further, the same thing to belong at the same time in the same respect. Now, for the raining scenario, it is the same thing at the same time, but it is not the same respect, as we are talking about two different locations. So if someone was to say it is raining and it is not raining in the same town at the same time, then this would be violating the law. But as we are talking about two different towns at different ends of the country, this is not the same respect, and so there is no violation to the law. And with the feather example, we are not talking about the same thing, as in one way you are talking about light as in weight and dark as in brightness. So again, this is not a violation of the law of non-contradiction. It is only if we are talking about the same thing at the same time in the same respect. These cannot be and not be, and contradictory propositions cannot be true of both of them.
Okay, yes, if you expand the definition, you can cover these examples. However, what about statements of a personal perspective? Surely these can violate the law.
What do you mean?
Well, things can be true for some people and not true for others. Someone may say the statement, beef burgers are delicious, and someone else may say beef burgers are horrible. These are contradictory statements, yet they are both true and so violate the law of non-contradiction.
But these are personal statements from a personal perspective, and so using Aristotle's criteria, I would say these are not in the same respect. The statement burgers are delicious is a personal proposition, and so it only applies to the person making it. If the same person says this burger is delicious and disgusting, then yes, this would be a violation of the law. But if two different people each have a different personal preference, we are not talking about the same thing in the same respect.
But what about contradictory propositions based on emotional states?
What do you mean?
I've heard people say, I love this person and I hate this person at the same time. Here, we are talking about the same thing at the same time in the same respect, both love and hate for the same person. This is a contradiction, yet both statements are true. How would the law of non-contradiction apply to this?
That's a very interesting point. You can make the case that it might not be entirely in the same respect. The love and hate you have for the person can be more specific, as in you love certain things about them and you hate certain things about them.
But without getting too specific, it is a fair and common statement to just say you love this person as a whole or you hate this person as a whole, and so you can both love and hate someone as a single entity at the same time. I would say this is in the same respect.
Well, to this I would say we have steered the debate into the realm of emotions. The law of non-contradiction is a logical law. Emotions are a different realm altogether. They do not follow logical laws, and so you are trying to use a logical rule for emotional states. It's like using the rules of basketball for the game of golf. These are two completely different things, and logical laws need not apply to emotional states.